Okay students, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Meet again with Memika on Memika channels, that is about listening for proficiency tests. Okay, today we are going to talk about IELTS, because after the midterm Memika will deliver all about IELTS, but in a different format and also in different sources. Okay, and for 2 weeks ago, or last week, Memika for 2 meetings, try to tell about the IELTS test from Baron's format. And now we are going to learn from the Oxford format. We are going to know about some strategies from Oxford and also the test items from Oxford, okay. And then we are going to take a look about the strategies, in doing the Oxford format test related to IELTS. Okay, now we come to the next slide. Okay, IELTS test on the listening section, of course, the format are still the same with the other. The formats consist of 4 sections, and Memika take the source from Peter May here from the Oxford format, and the strategies on listening can be divided into 9 strategies from section 1 up to section 4 on the listening section itself. And they are: the first about completing notes, secondly labeling a map, and then the third completing a table, and the fourth multiple choices questions, the fifth completing a flow chart, and then the sixth short answers question, the seventh answer questions about diagrams, the eighth completing a summary, and the last for the named matching list. Okay, there are 9 strategies here used by Peter May on an Oxford format of IELTS tests, especially on listening section or listening skill. And then Memika will explain one by one about the strategies related to 9 strategies here. Okay, the first strategies about completing notes. There are 6 steps we should do in this strategy. Okay, about completing notes. The first step, before you listen, think about who the speakers are likely to be, where they are, and why they are speaking. Listen to the example to check your prediction about the speakers. Listen for the words or numbers that you need, and write what you hear on a good short alternative. And then write numbers as figures, not as words. For example, 19 or not 19. Okay, not 19 as a word, but here 19 as number. Remember, if you write the number, you try to take a look that this is about 19. When we talk about number, we talk about number itself, not try to write down into words. If the strategy on completing notes. And then after you listen, check that you completed the notes make sense. And then the last step, check your spelling. You may lose marks for mistakes. Okay, these are the steps to complete the notes on the first strategy. We come to the next strategy, on the second strategy, that is about labeling a map. In this strategy, there are 3 steps that you should do. The first is about study the main features of the map and notice how they are connected, because the form EM is a kind of a map, so you need to study the main feature. What are the main features? You can take a look, for example, like roads, footsteps, or corridors. Okay, this is the example about the map. And then for the second, decide what the possible answer have in common. For example, there are all rooms, building, or streets. And then listen for the names of all places you are given and for the preposition of a place. For example, like near to, in front of, you have to pay attention about this preposition. What kind of preposition used by the speaker on the audio. Okay, this is about the strategy on labeling a map. Okay, take a look then on the next strategy. That is about completing a table. There are 5 steps here that you should do in this strategy. Yeah, Memeka will deliver all of them about the 5 steps to complete the table. Before you listen, check how many words you can use and decide what kind of you need to write. Okay, you have to check the instruction first about the words should be answered on the blank or on the table. Yeah, so you should try to put nouns or verbs. You have to pay attention there, and then how many words, and study the headings and the example, which will indicate the kind of information required. Try to guess some of the missing words. While you hear the recording, use the information in the table to guide you through the question. Write in your answer as you listen, checking whether your guesses are confirmed or not. Don't expect to write any information on stated parts of the table. Okay, students, these are the steps how to do in completing a table. The next strategy, that is about multiple choice question. I believe that all of you is familiar about multiple choice question. You should choose the best answer related to the choices. How many possible choices given on the test? You should pay attention. There are 6 steps here that you should do in the strategy. Okay, we are going to take a look. Before you listen, look on the other stamps, the question or unfinished statements. They may indicate what is in that part of the recording. Okay, sometimes the statement is unfinished, or you should try to fill the blank or the missing words. Okay, so you have to look at the stamps, and then while you listen, select answer based on what you hear, not on your own knowledge or opinions. Remember, not your own knowledge or your opinion, but based on what you hear. And then don't choose an option just because you hear a word or a phrase from it. Be careful with the option that misinterpret what the recording actually says. Don't stop listening when you think you have heard the answers. Speakers can change their minds, okay? And then correct themselves or add to what they have said. Okay, be careful on it. And the last step, if after you listen, you are not sure of any answers, cross out option that are clearly wrong, then choose from the rest. Okay, so you have to choose. Don't miss it blank. Yeah, don't try to leave the choice, but you have to choose. Okay, you have to guess and try to cross out option that are clearly wrong. Okay, you have to guess here. Yeah, it needs you to guess. And then the next strategy, this is about the strategy of completing a flow chart. Okay, I believe that you are familiar about the phrases of flow chart. Okay, there are 4 steps here that you should do in this strategy. Before you listen, of course, study the language used in the chart and decide what its purpose is. Example, to ask questions, to state facts. Yeah, so You have to pay attention on the purpose of each question. And then this may give you clues to the type of answer needed. Of course, the speaker will give you clues. And then identify the style of the language used. Okay, the style of the language used. For example, like note form, yeah. And write your answer in the same style. Okay, don't try to use different style, but the same style. And then while you listen, remember that the arrows show you how the text is organized. After you have listened, check that the completed flowchart reflects the overall sense of the recording. Okay, and then we come to the next step. That is about the strategy of short answers questions. The next strategy is about short answers questions. Yeah, there are 4 steps here that you should do in this strategy. Yeah, for each question, decide what kind of information you must listen. Okay, what you must listen for. For example, like a sequence of something or an explanation. And then before you listen, underline the keywords in each question. Okay. Although the instruction do not scratch anything on the paper test, but you can try to underline by using a pencil, yeah, and then you can erase at the end of the test. And then as the recording is played, listen out for the keywords and expression with a similar meaning to this keyword. And then the last, check your answers for a correct grammar, spelling, and number of words. Okay, this is about that you should pay attention on answering, because you need to write the answer, so you have to write down in the correct grammar, spelling, and number of the words, especially on the spelling. Don't miss one letter, although you try to write down only one word. Okay, remember for this. And then for the next strategy, we come to the next strategy. The next strategy is about answering questions about the diagrams. Okay, there are 3 steps here that you should do. Yeah, if the test item the test item gives you about the diagrams or the pictures of diagrams, yeah. And then what should you do? Yeah, before you listen, of course, describe the diagram, because you have a time to read the items of the test before you listen to the audio. So before you listen, describe the diagrams in English to yourself. You try to use your English in your own, yeah, to identify the similarities and also the differences between the diagrams. If the diagrams only 2, so between diagrams. If the diagrams has 4, yeah, there are 4 diagrams there though, so you have to find and identify the similarities and differences among the diagrams. Okay, and then think of the other expression for visuals of the diagrams. Okay, and the last step, as the recording is played, look at the diagrams and listen for the keywords from the instruction. Also listen out for words used to describe features of the diagrams. Okay, this is about 3 steps for answering question about diagram strategy. And then the next strategy, that is about completing a summary. Okay, in completing a summary here, there are 5 steps that you should do. Okay, of course, before you listen, before the audio is played, so you have to quickly read the text to understand the main points. This is the first that you have to do. And then to come to the green one, look at the context of each question, thinking about the type of expression you may need to use. Okay, continue to the gray one. As you listen, while the audio is played, don't get stuck on any difficult questions. You may miss the answer to the next one, so go on, don't stop. So you have to to leave the difficult questions for a while, and then you are going to return again after the audio stop, so you can continue to the next question, so you don't miss for the answer for the next questions. Okay, which one is easier first? And then the blue one, when the recording has ended, remember, check the summary makes sense for all, and that your answer fit both logically and grammatically. Okay, of course, because when you fill in the blank, for the missing word, you have to check that, is the grammar right or wrong, related to the word that you put on the answer. And then the last step that you have to do, check you have spelled words, of course, correctly and written any numbers clearly. Spelling, miss the letter, remember, this is for the last step. Okay, and now we come to the next strategy, that is the last strategy. The last strategy here about the matching list. There are 5 steps here that you should do in this strategy. Okay, the first, of course, before you listen, study the task. If there are more questions than option, you will need to use one more option at least once. Sometimes a particular option may not be needed at all. Okay, remember this. Okay, remember that sometimes the item of the questions of the test, and also the choices will be more than the questions. Okay, so you have to think more about that to choose the best words to be the answer for the questions. And then the green one, the next step. For each list, identify the keywords and try to think of synonyms for them. Remember, synonyms can be used here on the matching list. And then listen for the keywords in the questions and for expression with a similar meaning to those in the options. And then write only the letters as your answers. And then the last step, if you really can't decide on an answer, guess. Okay, guess. Remember, guess. You don't lose marks for being wrong. So answer every question. Okay, student, guessing. Okay, this is the way how to do the last step. In many strategies that you in listening section. Okay, and then now we are going to the next one. We will practice. Okay, listening test will be done in about 30 minutes, of course, and then we have to practice every time, of course. If we talk about listening, we have to practice anytime, every day, just maybe listen to the general English speech or listening to the news of English, as your practice, as your training. Okay, you will get the chance, and then now Memika will deliver 40 points for the items from the Oxford format, and then 30 minutes to do the test. But you are going to do for the 20 questions at last. Number 1 up to 20 at the first will be done by Memika as your practice, and then for number 21 up to 40 you will do it, and you have to write the answer on the comment of this video. Okay, let's try to do the first. This is about the instruction. Okay, Memika will give you here to start by giving you an instruction, from the IELTS formats of Oxford, and also the example how to answer. Okay, listen carefully now.
Test 1. Listening. Section 1. You will hear a telephone conversation between a customer and a sales assistant at a shop that rents bicycles. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Hello, Clark's Cycle Hire. My name's Keith. How can I help you? Oh, hello. I saw your ad in the local paper, and as I'm thinking of doing some cycling, I'm wondering what kinds of bike you have and what your prices are like.
Well, we hire out two main types of machine, touring and mountain bikes. Are you likely to be riding off-road, do you think?
No, I'll probably be sticking to roads and country lanes, so a touring bike would be best, I think.
The type of bike is touring bike, so touring has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Remember, you are not listening the recording for the second time. So it means only once. The audio will not be played for twice. Okay? This is the speaker says the instruction on the audio of IELTS. Okay, and now we come to the next practice. Okay, now this is the instruction. Try to complete the notes. This is about the first strategy, completing the notes. And write no more than 3 words and or a number. Remember, when you put a number, you have to write a number, not a number in the words. Okay, remember that? Nameka will play the audio once and then we are going to answer together for the practice. Okay, listen now.
Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Hello, Clark Cycle Hire. My name's Keith. How can I help you?
Oh, hello. I saw your ad in the local paper, and as I'm thinking of doing some cycling, I'm wondering what kinds of bike you have and what your prices are like.
Well, we hire out two main types of machine, touring and mountain bikes. Are you likely to be riding off-road, do you think?
No, I'll probably be sticking to roads and country lanes, so a touring bike would be best, I think.
Right, well, the rate will be £50 for a week or £14 per day.
So it's a lot cheaper to rent by the week?
Yes, definitely. Though it's important to bring the bike back on time. Otherwise, I'm afraid we have to charge a late return fee.
And how much is that?
For each additional hour, it's £1.25.
So if you were a day late, it would cost another £30?
Yes, that's right.
I'd make sure I didn't do that then.
I should also point out there's a deposit which you get back when you return the bicycle. In good condition, of course. On touring models, it's £60.
Is there anything else I'd have to pay?
No, that's it. Though if you're planning to ride fairly long distances, you might like to have 1 or 2 accessories.
Such as?
Well, for another £5, we can supply lightweight bags, either panniers or the handlebar sort. It's amazing how much they can carry, and the way they're designed means they don't get in the way when you're riding.
Well, I'll see. But what about essential things like a pump and a repair kit? I wouldn't have to pay extra for those, would I?
No, there's no charge for things like that. Or for a lock. It's a good strong one too. Just make sure you don't lose the key.
That reminds me, what about insurance? What happens if someone steals the bike, in spite of the wonderful lock?
Didn't I mention that? Oh, I should have told you that's included in the rental too.
And it covers everything, does it?
It covers you against theft of the bike, yes, as long as it's securely locked at the time. You'd have to pay part of any individual claim, though.
How much?
If the bike was stolen and not recovered, you'd be liable for the first £100.
So, if I do go ahead and rent one, how do I pay? By cheque or would it have to be cash?
Neither, I'm afraid. We can only accept credit card bookings. Otherwise, we'd have to ask our customers for the full value of the machine as a deposit.
I've got a visa in my name. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay, students, in this one, we are going to answer for number 1 up to 7. Okay, for number 1, this one, the rental, blah 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 blah, £50 a week, or blah 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 a day. Okay, what is the correct answer on this missing number or missing words? Of course, this is number. You have to guess words that mostly the speaker here talks about number, yeah, because this is in pounds, so of course this is number. Number 2 also number. Number 3 also number. You have to guess first, and then 4 and 5 will be words, and the 6 will be number, and 7 will be words again. Okay, so which one you should be put on a number and words, you have to guess for the first time. Okay, for number 1, the correct answer is here. Jane asks, I am wondering what your prices are like. And then Kate here, Kate and Jane, yeah, try to discuss together. And then Kate's answer that the rate will be 14 pounds a day. 14, not 40, okay. This is the correct answer. 14, not 40, okay. And then number 2 here, this is also number. When Kate mentioned as a late return fee, yeah, and then Jane asks him, how much is that? Yeah, and then what is it? Kate, he replies, yeah, for each additional hour it is £1.25. £1.25. How to write down? Like this. £1, full stop, not comma, yeah, okay. And then for number 3 here, Kate says there is a deposit too, and asks what you get back when you return the bicycle. He says on touring models it is £60, which is the kind that Jane wants to rent. Okay, remember this one, the number will be £60. And then for number 4 here, yeah, there is a word, there is a statement here says, for another £5 we can supply lightweight bags. Okay, supply for £5 here, yeah, we can supply lightweight bags. How to write the lightweight bags? Okay, this is the lightweight bags. And then continue for number 5. This is also weight, yeah. Here the statement will be, there is no charge for things like that. Okay, there is no charge for things like that, or for a lock, okay, so the statement here, lock, yeah. And then for number 6 here, I think that you are clearly here, this number, this is about you would be liable, yeah, you would be liable for the first £100, okay, for the first £100 of claim, yeah. And then the next answer for the last, this is only, okay, by only what, okay, this one, the Kate, yeah, Kate insists on credit card booking, yeah. He says that credit card booking, and then we are going to use here as credit card only. Okay, this is the answer for section 1, number 1 up to 7. And now we are going to practice for the next number, still section 1, yeah, still section 1 here, for number 8 up to 10, with the second strategy here. This is the second strategy of labeling the map, yeah. So you have to read this kind of map. This is a kind of road, not corridor, yeah, but this is a road, okay. So because this is a kind of road, so you have to put the appropriate letter only, not word, but just a letter. Remember, just a letter. Okay, let's listen for the audio now.
Test 1. Listening. Section 1. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
So if I want to have a look at the bikes, how do I find you? I live near the university, by the way.
Right. First you take Woods Road as far as the main police station.
I know it. It's right next to the park.
Yes, that's it. And after the police station, there's a turning to the right called Oak Street.
At the big supermarket?
No, it's before then. It's actually between the police station and a garage on the other side.
Okay.
So, you go down Oak Street until you reach the health centre on the right. If you get to a pub called the Maple Leaf, you've gone too far, all right?
Yes, I've got that.
Now, opposite the health centre there's a pharmacy, and we're just behind that.
OK, fine. I'll try to call over sometime tomorrow.
Great. See you then.
Bye.
That is the end of section 1.
Okay, section number 1 finished up to number 10. Okay, and now we are going to try the answer. Yeah, to try to find out the answer for number 8 up to 10 here. Okay, for number 8 here, Kate described the location of Oak Street as between the police station and the garage on the other side. Okay, remember the police station and the garage on the other side. Between, yeah, between. So number 8 here will be E. This is the garage. Okay, and then for number 9, yeah, here Kate, yeah, says go down Oak Street until you reach the health center on the right, and the opposite of the health center there is a pharmacy. Okay, this is the way how to describe about the street. And then so the correct answer for number 9, this is a health center, A. And then the last answer for number 10 here, Kate says we are just behind that. Yeah, in this context we means that, yeah, the example here, Clark's cycle higher. Okay, the phrase of opposite the health center, yeah, this is the clue. The clue is the opposite of the health center. So it means that when Kate says we are just behind that, it means behind the pharmacy. Behind the pharmacy, yeah. So in this context, we means that Clark's cycle higher here, Clark cycle higher or cycle higher, this is behind the pharmacy. So the correct answer is C. Okay, students, this is for number 10. And now we come to the next practice on section.
Test 1. Listening. Section 2. You will hear an extract from a radio program for people who live abroad. Listen and answer questions 11 to 17.
You're listening to Expat News, a weekly broadcast for the English-speaking community in this great city. In today's programme, we'll be hearing from Tom O'Hara, who's going to tell us about all those different associations he can join. Tom.
Good evening. Yes, in a city with so many of its residents born outside the country, it's hardly surprising there's such a huge range of expatriate clubs and societies. And many of these, of course, are aimed at English speakers. So, first, and perhaps most obviously, we have the sports clubs, which in some cases field teams in things like rugby and tennis that compete against clubs in other parts of the country, or even abroad. You don't have to play at this level to have fun, though. They can be just a great way to do some exercise, and of course to get to know other people, especially if you're new in town. The same can be said of the many hobby and interest clubs that have sprung up here. Everything from landscape photography, such as the Viewfinders Club in the Harbour District, or Focus on the Airport Road, to old favourites like stamp collecting. Remember that this country has a long tradition of unusual and perhaps even eccentric societies, so there should be something for everyone. A place where you can meet people of different nationalities with the same social and/or cultural interests as you. For those who may be interested in rather more than just friendship, there's a wide range of lively social clubs. Several singles associations organise dancing of various kinds, while for people in a real hurry, there's speed dating, in which everyone talks to everyone else for just 5 minutes. Then, at the end, they decide which of them they would like to meet again by ticking their names on a list. In complete contrast to these are the many religious associations, reflecting the diversity of faith groups present in this multicultural city. Many of them, of course, have their own places of worship. Perhaps also of interest to those who've come here from other parts of the world are the international and cultural societies. These often provide a meeting place for people from a specific country, China, for instance, and particular ethnic groups, such as Afro-Caribbeans. As in other major cities, we have here local branches of many charities with names familiar around the world. Meetings of human rights organisations like Amnesty International are held regularly in English, as are those of environmental groups such as Greenpeace. All funds raised, by the way, go to the same kinds of good cause as they do in other countries you may have lived in. Inevitably, perhaps, there are also the political clubs, often connected with a particular party and, indeed, a particular country. So we have, for example, a local association of Republicans linked to and campaigning for that party in the US, and Liberal Democrats here doing the same for their party in Britain. Finally, on a lighter note, there's plenty to choose from in the performing arts. Whether you enjoy taking part or just watching and listening, you can take your pick from a whole range of groups. To take just a couple of examples, there's light opera at the Memorial Hall in the city centre, or a very lively amateur theatre company in the Park District. In summer, they give open-air performances of Shakespeare plays, free of charge.
Okay, students, this is section 2 for number 11 up to 17, okay. We are going to take a look about this one. You have to write down the answers for no more than 3 words, okay. For number 11, here, after the prompts hobby and interest club, come the first example. The landscape, there is a landscape, and then photography, and then the next answer will be stamp collecting. Okay, so this one, the correct answer for number 11 is stamp collecting. And then for number 12 here, after the prompt more than just friendship, comes the answer, social. Now social, this is come before more than just friendship. So number 12 will be social. Before the example of dancing and speed dating. Tadi ada contohnya dancing and speed dating gitu ya. And then number 13. Now number 13, you hear on the prompt that international and cultural. And then come the name of the country, China, followed by for instance, China. Okay, that's one. So the correct answer is China. And then for number 14, the examples of human rights organization like Amnesty and environmental groups such as Greenpeace. Okay, so both here, this is about the kind human rights and environmental groups such as Greenpeace. This is called charities. Okay, this one, this is the example. And then for number 15, the clues comes after the answer party and also campaigning. When we talk about these clues, party and campaigning, and then the first examples as Republicans. So who is the Republicans here? The Republicans is the political. Okay, and then for number 16 here, after the example of Republicans, the speaker mentioned Liberal Democrats doing the same for the party. Okay, Liberal Democrats. So the correct answer here will be Liberal Democrats. And then the last number here, the word finally. Okay, the word finally tells you that number 7 is coming, number 17 is coming, So the speaker mentioned performing arts. The answer on the first example is amateur theater. So amateur theater, and then after that What is the example? So this one, the light opera. Okay, so this is about the correct answer up to number 17 on section 2. We are going to continue still on section 2 for number 18 up to 20. Okay, let's take a look here. This is about multiple choice question. So you have to choose the best answer on this question. Pay attention on the questions first. Yeah, read the question first and then Memeka will play the audio. Okay, now read and listen.
Test 1. Listening. Section 2. Now answer questions 18 to 20.
I should mention at this point that clearly some districts have a higher concentration of English-speaking clubs than others, and that certain parts of town tend to specialise in particular activities. An obvious example would be the number of water sports clubs down near the river. Whatever the number though, they usually have one thing in common. With the exception of a few associations linked to particular countries and supported by their embassies here, in the vast majority of cases, it is the individual members who fund them, so an entry fee or a subscription will be charged. You may be used to council-subsidised sports centres and the like in your home country, but I'm afraid that's not the case here. Assuming you can afford it then, you can be fairly sure that somewhere out there you'll find a club that caters for your own particular fascination. If it's very important to you and you intend to spend a lot of time on it, it might even determine which district of the city you decide to live in. In the unlikely event that you really can't find such a club, the solution is to try to persuade friends and anyone else you meet of the need for one. You could also use the local small ads on the internet to suggest the idea. You'll be amazed at just how many people share even the strangest interest. Then you can start your own.
That is the end of section 2.
Okay students, this is the end of section 2. We are going to answer together for number 18 up to 20. On number 18, yeah, we have to find the clues that the speaker mentions a few associations supported by the embassies. Yeah, supported by the embassies, but the states in the vast majority of cases, it is the individual members who fund them. Okay, so the correct answer is B. Yeah, why should be B here? Okay, this one. Yeah, this is the correct answer. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Memeka has not given you a mark here. So this one, this is about the individual members will be the correct answer. And then for number 19 here, the prompt is find a club. The speaker says it is might even determine which is district of the city you decide to live in. Okay, district. So B is the correct answer too. And then for the last, for number 20 here, yeah, the answers will be on A because the keywords, yeah, then you can start your own. Although the speaker says that use the local small ads on the internet, but then you can start your own. So the correct answer is set one up yourself. Yeah, but I try to give you a mark here that this is B, and number 19 B, and the last number 20 is A. Okay student, now go on the next section 3 and 4. This is a time for you to do all the tasks because you have to answer it on the comment of the video for number 21 up to 40. Okay student, now next.
Test 1. Listening. Section 3. You will hear a tutor and 2 students discussing the best ways to study. Listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Well, how are you both settling in?
Fine.
Yes, no problems. So far, anyway.
Good. Remember that as your personal tutor, I'm here to help you if you do have any difficulties. Now, as you know, lectures start on Monday, so I thought we'd look at a few ways of making the most of them, especially in terms of the notes you take. Let's begin by thinking about what you can do before you even go to the lecture. Any ideas?
Make sure you're up to date with all the background reading, so you know plenty about the subject already.
Yes, that's essential. The lecturer will assume you have that knowledge. Anything else, Carlos?
Well, check what the topic's going to be. Of the lecture, that is.
I'd go a bit further than that and consider what the content may be. Then you could ask yourself some questions that you want answering and listen out for the relevant information during the lecture.
Okay.
Now that brings us to the lecture itself and the actual business of writing notes. But there's a lot to deal with there, so we'll come back to that later. What I'd like to do for the moment is continue with the process of note-taking and move on to the next stage. Any suggestions for what that might be?
When the lecture is over, you mean?
Yes, once you're able to sit down somewhere quiet with your notes.
Read them?
More than that, you need to make sure they'll still make sense to you weeks, months later.
Edit them?
Yes, that's what's needed. It's well worth spending a few minutes on it. Any missing words, anything difficult to read, things you didn't have time to jot down, now is the time to do so, while everything's still fresh in your mind.
Right. And after that, when's the best time to revise them?
When do you think, Carlos?
I'd say just before the next lecture, in the same subject.
Precisely. That's a vital time to look at them again, for obvious reasons. But it's definitely not the only time. When should you revise them again?
A month later, maybe?
Sooner, and much more often than that. I'd recommend you look at them again once a week. That's why it's so important they're complete and easy to follow.
Test 1. Listening. Section 3. Now answer questions 26 to 29.
Right. Let's go back to note-taking and begin with the basics before the lecture has even started. What should you do when you walk into the room?
Get a good seat, at the front if you can, where you can hear clearly and avoid distractions.
Yes, though obviously others will have had the same idea, so it's as well to get there a bit early. So, when the lecture's underway and you're busy jotting things down, what should you try to ensure?
That you're getting all the main points.
And what if you don't catch something you know must be important?
I'd leave a space. Then I could check it later, perhaps by asking a question at the end and fill it in afterwards.
That's an excellent way to deal with it, yes. And there's something else I'd like to mention here. Talking about going through notes afterwards, it's absolutely vital that what you write is legible for one very good reason. It saves time. You'll waste many hours during the course if your revision is held up because you can't read what you've written. Okay, what else can we do to make listening and note-taking more efficient?
Well, I always listen out for signpost words.
Sorry, what are they?
They're the ones lecturers use to say where they're going. A bit like a signpost at a road junction, I suppose. Things like, the first reason is, however, to sum up, and so on.
Yes, they can tell you when something important is coming, and help you organize your notes, too.
Test 1. Listening. Section 3. Now answer question 30.
Is there anything else you can add, Carlos?
There's something I think's very useful, but it's later, after the lecture is finished.
That's fine. Go on.
Well, what I do is go through what I've written down, summing up the main points in a few words in the margin, on the left-hand side of the page. I try to use words that'll jog my memory, so that I can remember what everything's about when I look at them again.
Yes, that can work very well. What some people do to review their notes is cover up their full notes from the lecture, maybe with a piece of paper or a card, and concentrate just on what they've put in the margin, trying to recall the details. Then they move the cover down a little and check whether they were right.
Or you could put your main points on another piece of paper and clip them together. Instead of covering and uncovering, you just hold a page in each hand.
Sure. It's down to personal preference, really. Everyone has their own learning style.
That is the end of section 3. Test 1. Listening. Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture about a place called Cuba PD. Listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 36.
Good afternoon. Today, we're continuing this series of talks on the development of the Australian outback with a look at Cuba PD, the desert town of opal mines and underground living, which lies 860 kilometres north of Adelaide and 690 south of Alice Springs. The inaccessibility, harsh climate and almost total lack of water made it a highly unlikely place for human habitation. But that all started to change in 1915 with the discovery there of opals, the precious stones which seem to change colour according to their surroundings. Settlements were established following the First World War, when soldiers returning from the trenches of France brought with them the techniques of living below ground in dugouts. The depression of the 1920s and 30s led to many prospectors leaving, but the town boomed again in the late 1940s when shallow new opal fields were discovered, and immigrants from Europe arrived in large numbers after the Second World War. It must be remembered, though, just how hostile conditions were. Daytime summer temperatures reached well over 50 degrees centigrade, winter nights were bitterly cold, and dense dust storms regularly blanketed the town. To cope with this, more and more people began living in disused mines and purpose-built subterranean houses, where the temperature remains at a comfortable 25 degrees all year round, so that eventually around 70% of the town's inhabitants had made their homes beneath the surface. This led to the construction of hotels and even churches below ground, as well as an entire underground shopping centre, the only one in the world.
Test 1. Listening. Section 4. Now answer questions 37 to 40.
Perhaps not surprisingly, this has now led to the emergence of a secondary industry, tourism. Increasing numbers of visitors come to see the tunnels and the caves with their ventilation shafts, the weird machines lying about in the town, and, just beyond it in the scorched red desert, the conical hills thrown up by the world's biggest opal mines. It's a logical stopping place for travellers too. The nearest town to Cuba PD is Woomera, in the prohibited area once used for launching space rockets. But even that is an enormous distance away. Within the town itself, there are plenty of hotel rooms and a number of ethnic restaurants. Remember that Cuba PD is one of the most multicultural places in Australia, with an estimated 45 nationalities represented, and its very own Opal Museum. A short distance from town, there's a section of the enormous barrier that runs thousands of kilometres across the country, the Dingo Fence, which is meant to keep these predatory wild dogs out of the sheep farming areas. Another attraction just outside town are the sets of various films made there, including Mad Max 3, as well as The Red Planet and Until the End of the World. Names that reflect the harshness of the terrain and temperatures there. The name Coober Pedy, incidentally, comes from an Aboriginal expression meaning white man's hole in the ground. Next, I'd like to go on to talk about Broken Hill, another mining town, but one that...
That is the end of Test 1.